Hello, fellow Minecrafters. Gearsaw Studios here. Today I'm going to show you how to create an alchemy room because you need to brew your potions in fashion because that really sends a message to others that you're a cool person. However, before I begin, remember, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. So, with that, onto the tutorial. For this build, our palette is going to consist of spruce and dark oak with their logs. And for accents, we are going to include red netherwort and warped wart blocks, along with lanterns that match each color, which means soul and normal lanterns. Now with this palette, it's time to begin building. For this build, the room that I'm going to use has 13 by 13 by 6 area on the inside, which means it is about a 15 by 15 by 8 area on the outside, which gives us quite a bit of room to build some crazy things and some good potions. So, the first thing we should do is light up this room a little, which means I'm going to go to about the middle of the room and make a small desk-like thing aligned with the door and put in a lantern and a soul lantern. Although the lantern does overpower the soul lantern, it still is some lighting. Along with that, we should start putting in some soul sand so that way netherwort can be readily produced in here, because that's a feature that a lot of good alchemy rooms have. So place down some soul sand and line them up with some good pattern like this. I've made a small change to the palette. I've removed the warped netherwort block and I've removed the soul lantern because the lighting just looks pretty bad with them in. However, with those removed, let's start working on the lighting source. For the middle of the room, just add a small lantern and place a lectern under it. The lectern will be very useful later. Also, you might want to grab some stairs to decorate the lectern better, because stairs just look better than normal blocks. The lectern is going to be very useful in this build because it will have a book containing the recipes for potions, which will increase your efficiency because you won't have to constantly look at the wiki or ask friends for the recipes. Now, with a better central lighting source and a basic netherwort pen, it's time to increase the quality of the netherwort pen. For this, I'm going to make a window on both sides and add a bit of an overhang over it. You'll still be able to walk into it, but it will just look more fashionable in other situations. The window will be dealt with later, but you can add some things right now. But the corners will be left for later. So do that, and you can connect it along here for another neat detail. Now, a simple netherwort pen has been turned into a better looking one. With basic netherwort pens done, it's time to write the book that's going to go on the lectern. It can take a while and you might have to look at the wiki a couple of times, but it's just so worth it in the end. However, it can take sometimes upwards of 15 minutes to write. So it's definitely worth it, it just might take a while. And the wiki is a helpful source to help you write it. After about 15 minutes of writing this book, it is done, containing info on how to make each and every potion. There's all the basics and all the brewable potions, which will help anyone who doesn't know how to brew. You can also use this for your own potion room. You just have to pause at every page and write down what's on it. But with that, it's time to work on the actual build again. Another essential that any potion brewer should have is a small storage unit that isn't actually all that small. Just make a wall of barrels, like this, and then decorate it a little with some logs. Get some stairs, and decorate it some more. And when you're done, start labeling it with item frames or signs. You might want to change it, or you might not want to have the top section, which is for ingredients. But each barrel will represent its own potion. You can also incorporate it into the floor as well if you don't particularly like the entire wall. But make a wall and decorate it that's filled with barrels. Now, with a storage system for different things that isn't organized yet, I've actually taken down the lantern in favor for a new light source, candles. Candles will work very well because they kind of put off that wizardy vibe while also providing quite a bit of light. But remember, don't use too many because the more you add, the brighter it gets. And it might get too bright and ruin the feel of the room. But there are amazing lighting sources that you should try in this build. With the organized sorting system and some extra candles for more lighting, it's time to add some water sources. The water sources are useful because here's the thing. Cauldrons don't have unlimited storage, but infinite water sources do. But infinite water sources, as in just giving infinite water, isn't as fashionable. So you can combine the two, and it's incredibly nice because when you combine the two, now you have some water, but you also keep the utility of a cauldron being able to be moved, which means you should probably add some water to the corners of the build, preferably covered up with trapdoors. It depends on how deep you want it, but I personally think that 1 deep is better because you don't want to fall in and have to break blocks to get out. But now some water sources are in the build. Now it's probably the part you've been waiting for. It's time to place down the actual brewing stands, which are required for actually brewing stuff, as the name of the room suggests. And just to lay down some small tables like this, and place some brewing stands on them. You can place 2, you can place 3, you could make the entire thing it, but I think placing down some candles on one end is good. Also, don't forget to light the candles. Flint and steel is the best option for this. And some lighting and some brewing stands have been added. But don't forget to add cauldrons, because they're more preferable because they fit in better to the build. So just add some to the walls here, and fill them up with some water buckets. And now this small piece is done, and you can fill up some bottles while also keeping it rather fashionable. Now, with the front brewing stand area done, it's time to just add a quick back one. So, just make a small table. And you don't actually need cauldrons, unlike the fact that I pick blocked it, because the water sources are right here. Another good idea is placing down some good old candles to keep this place lit up, which also means you'll need your flint and steel again. The corners of the build can get dark enough for mobs to spawn, which means you might need to add more decorations so that way you have a reason to add more lighting without it looking awkward. But now this build is basically done. It just needs some final touch-ups that I'll do off camera, such as wall detailing, floor detailing, and windows. Now, with some good windows, some wall design, and very basic floor design, I call this room done. It's heavily detailed with a potion almanac, a netherwort growing area so that way you have renewable netherwort without having to travel, the storage area, of course, brewing, cauldrons, and infinite water source. But that means this tutorial is over. And because this tutorial is over, it means it's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, remember, please like and subscribe. School season's coming around, so my production may slow down, and I prefer having a little bit more subscribers during the school time. However, with that, take care, keep on brewing, Gearsaw